Just 9 days remaining before opening day. The Rays are ramping up their preparation here in Port Charlotte before heading north to Tropicana Field. Today, Nathan Carnes goes to the Hill, looking to continue his Grapefruit League domination. It's the Rays and the Red Sox from Charlotte Sports Park next. We have a gorgeous day for baseball as we greet you from Charlotte County, Florida. Grapefruit League baseball as the Tampa Bay Rays play host to the Boston Red Sox. Clear skies here in Port Charlotte. The temperature is 66 degrees. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an afternoon of Rays baseball with Orestes Destrada. I'm Dwayne Stats. Good to have you looking in. Well, just under a week and a half away from opening day, and it's a time in spring training when at least the veterans start to think, maybe we've had enough of this and we would like to get the regular season started.
I kind of got that sense on the field earlier with Longoria and the Loneys, the veterans, but there's a lot of young guys on this Rays roster, and these guys, I think, will benefit from these last 9 days, these very important games for them to ramp up to a very important start to the season. Last year wasn't a good April.
Yeah, and we all know if the Rays are going to be successful, pitching will carry the day, but they're going to have improved offense, and there are a couple of guys in the lineup today who could really help the cause in that regard.
Yeah, those couple of guys, Dwayne, are both outfielders, kind of different type players. The speedster, Desmond Jennings, looking to really have a breakout season. You see how much thinner he is. Last year he came in a little bulkier. This year he came in like a racehorse, and he really has been doing it all this spring. Hitting for average, hitting for power, running the bases, playing defense. He's ready to have that type of breakout season. And speaking of breakout season, this kid right here is Steven Souza Jr. had one in the International League last year. Rookie of the Year in the International League. Player of the Year. He did it all offensively, and we all remember that great play to end the season for Zimmerman last year, and that great no-hitter that he threw against the Marlins. So both dynamic players that are going to be key people in this team.
Impressive numbers for Desmond Jennings this spring at .483, and of course Souza Jr. coming off the great season at AAA last year. A lot in store for you. Of course, the Rays with a new manager, Kevin Cash. We'll be hearing from him, along with the line coaches. Rocco Baldelli coaching first base this year. Charlie Montoyo along the lines at third base, up from Durham after a great stretch of managing the Rays AAA club. And when we come back, Orestes will chat with the everyday shortstop as Drubal Cabrera. Baseball, we're all set to start with the Red Sox sending Shane Victorino to the plate to lead it off. And the first pitch of this game from Nathan Carnes is in there for a strike. Carnes making his 5th start of the spring for the Rays. He has a couple of wins and a loss and a spot in the Rays rotation. As you know, you followed all of the injuries the Rays have sustained to the pitching staff this season. And Carnes has taken advantage of the opportunity and has been impressive. He has not backed into this spot in the rotation. As you see by those numbers, he has been impressive. It'll take the count to 2-2. Victorino in the leadoff spot for Boston. Will be followed by Brock Holt and then David Ortiz. A pretty good lineup the Red Sox have put together here. They carried a lot of the veterans on this spring road trip. Did he go? And that's a check swing to take the count to 3-2. What we've seen from Carnes, you'll see a good breaking ball from him, and he's always had that as long as he's been in the Rays organization, and before with the Washington Nationals and their organization, and a very crisp fastball. It's bounding into the dugout, scattering some of the Red Sox there. And the big thing for Carnes this spring has been the changeup. And that has been a pitch that he has used only sparingly in the past. Maybe 5% of the time at most. It's a liner foul. So a deep count right here to the leadoff man to start this game. But that changeup this spring has been an important pitch for Nathan Carnes. A fastball consistently in the mid-90s with an excellent curveball, and now a pretty good changeup to add to that. Ooh, that was a pretty good pitch right there. A breaking ball for ball 4. That shows you the confidence he has in that pitch, although he just barely missed. Here's the rest of the lineup for John Farrell's club. Victorino with a walk, then Holt and Ortiz. Hanley Ramirez hits cleanup. Napoli, Castillo, Bogaerts, Ryan Hannigan, who was with the Rays last year. He'll do the catching. And Jamal Weeks is at second base, hitting 9th. There's a strike on the inner part of the plate. Fastball. Holt coming off a good year last year, a little over 100 games. He hit just over 280 and played every position except catch and pitch. One ball, one strike. Holt having a good spring, hitting over 320 for the Red Sox this spring. Base hit into right. And the Red Sox have put the first 2 men on base. 2 men on with nobody out. Take a quick look at the defensive setup for the Rays in the outfield. Jennings in left, Gyers in center field. Souza Jr. in right. Longoria, Cabrera the left side. Forsythe and Loney on the right side. Kurt Casale does the catching, and Nathan Carnes on the hill. And right here early, a big threat by the Red Sox with David Ortiz stepping in and hitting against the shift. That's going to loop into center field for a base hit. Geyer with the pickup. Victorino scores. Holt into third, and it's 1-0 Boston. That pitch in on Ortiz, and he got it over the infield. That's what a big, strong hitter can do. And he drives in his 7th run of the spring. So a walk and 2 hits to start the game, and the Red Sox have a run. Ortiz was peppering the right field line in batting practice. That RBI single, the antithesis of what he normally does. And now here's Hanley Ramirez. Fly ball right field. Caught by Souza Jr. And Holt will tag and score. And so just like that, the Red Sox have 2 quick runs. Ramirez driving in a run with a sacrifice fly. Well, you look at the Red Sox and their lineup this year, in a year in which most people feel that there is no dominant team in the American League East. But when you look at teams that if things fall into place and all should go right, the Red Sox are very optimistic about what they can do. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays are in the same situation. They're very optimistic given the talent on that club as to what they could do. But it would certainly seem, those 2 clubs notwithstanding, that the American League East could be fairly wide open, as you see John Farrell. And it has been a roller coaster the last few years in Boston. It's strike 2 to Napoli. Red Sox winning only 71 games last year after winning the World Series in 2013. The year before that they had won 69, so they've been down and up and down. This one bouncing away from Casali and moving into second base, Ortiz. There will be a wild pitch charged to Carnes. Ortiz now at second. And John Farrell in his 3rd year now as the manager of this Red Sox team, and after they struggled through the 2012 season with just 69 wins and won it all in 13 and then dropped to the basement last year. That's a good pitch right there, and Napoli is called out on strikes. First strikeout for Carnes and the second out of the inning. Take a look at that 2-2 pitch. They got Napoli looking. Well placed there. So with Victorino and Holt crossing the plate, Ortiz is at second base, 2 outs. Here's Castillo. Blocked by Casali. Couple of home runs in 10 games last year for the Red Sox. Rusney Castillo. Chopped to third. Longoria's got it. The throw right on the money. Red Sox end with a couple runs. They leave a man. So they score 2, and the Rays are coming in to hit. Rays coming in ahead in the bottom of the first inning. We could ask for a better day here Clear skies and the wind blowing out toward the right field corner right now. We'll take a look at the Rays lineup. John Jaso will be the DH and lead it off. Then Souza Jr. Cabrera will hit third and play short in front of Evan Longoria. James Loney at first. Then Desmond Jennings. Geyer hits seventh. Forsythe eighth. And the Rays catcher Kurt Casale bats ninth. And the Rays will be looking at a knuckleballer here in Stephen Wright. And Wright has had a pretty good spring overall. You see his numbers last year in just 6 starts with or 6 appearances, 1 start with the Red Sox, and put together some pretty good numbers. Think of that knuckleball, just 4 walks in 21 innings with 22 strikeouts. Here's the Boston defensive setup. Hanley Ramirez at left, Castillo center, Victorino and right, Holt at third, Bogarts at short, Weeks and Napoli on the right side. Hannigan does the catching for the knuckleballer Steve Wright. And here's Jaso. Takes the first pitch for a strike. Jaso with Oakland last year. 9 home runs. He had 264. It's 1-1. Jaso facing the 30-year-old right-hander. And Wright making a strong bid to be a part of this Boston picture. He spent last year splitting between AA and AAA, and then the brief appearances with the Red Sox. He was originally signed by the Cleveland Indians. So the count is full. You can see Wright that fastball in the mid-80s. And a walk to start the bottom of the first for the Rays. So he is not unlike a lot of knuckleball pitchers. Velocity in many instances below hitting speed with the fastball, but the knuckleball is something that he throws about 85% of the time. There are the numbers from Steven Souza Jr. at Syracuse last year that made him the International League MVP and Rookie of the Year. Hitting 118 this spring for the Rays with a couple home runs. Down to third. Holt to second and Weeks to first. Safe there. Jaso forced at second base, and Souza reaches on the fielder's choice. We'll get Asdrubal Cabrera up here at the bottom of the first. Rays are meeting the Red Sox for the second time this spring. They had a split squad play against the Red Sox back on March the 10th at JetBlue Park and lost 5-1 in that one. Rays come in a couple games over 500 on the spring, 11-9. Boston 11-10. And when the regular season begins, these two teams will play a 19-game season series. So they will see a lot of each other inside the East. We'll be hearing from the new Rays skipper. A look at Kevin Cash. Orestes Estrada is dug outside with the mic, and he'll be chatting with Kevin Cash later on. Cabrera up in the count, 3-0. Cabrera has nailed down that shortstop spot, and Orestes, I think that's something that is not altogether a surprise to you.
No, not at all. I mean, and talking to him before the game about it, he feels good and comfortable with that being named and gotten out of the way. He definitely could play second base fine. We saw that last year after he got traded to Washington, but I think Asdrubal has shown this year that he came in great shape, Dwayne, and can make the routine and somewhat maybe, you know, deeper plays, but maybe not the exceptional plays. But as long as he's routine, I think they're okay.
On 3-1, there's ball four. That's interesting because it's not as if he's a middle infielder in his mid-30s.
Right.
And in his heart, he would prefer to play short, thinks he can still play it. And what Kevin Cash said early, he wants to make sure whoever was at shortstop that they make the plays they're supposed to make. And they'll take care of maybe the exceptional play once in a while. Positioning will help that. And it's not as if there's a guy with no range there at shortstop. He's still, relatively speaking, a young guy. And as long as the Rays make that routine play and the plays that a veteran can make, and that's what they consider Cabrera, they will certainly take that and be happy with it at shortstop. Up the stairs, 2-0 to Evan.
I have to agree with you, and if you think about it, the guy up to bat right here kind of maybe helped manager Kevin Cash make that decision, because the plays to the non-glove side, obviously to the right side for a shortstop, tend to be the more non-routine plays, the difficult plays. This guy can go pretty deep to his glove side.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. Longoria, to have him at third, that's going to help any shortstop. And really, if you look at the shortstop spot over the last couple of years for the Rays, it has been a little unsettling. You know,
yes.
2 years ago, Ben Zobrist finished out the season playing there. And then last year, it was a down year for Escobar, who played there. High popper on the infield pop here, and Longoria's the second out. But in those games when Zobrist played short, not a lot of range, but he gave the Rays a steadiness at shortstop that they'd been looking for. And I think you can expect the same out of Cabrera, and maybe with even a little more range. So it's not as if you're taking a step back. Cabrera's going to be a step ahead of where the Rays have been the last year or so at shortstop.
I truly believe that, and it's a great comparison to the switch hitter Ben Zobrist.
James Loney, ball one to Loney. A couple of men on with 2 outs here in the first. The Red Sox scored 2 in their first. Loney has 1 home run this spring. Two and 0. Always fun trying to hit a knuckleballer, isn't it? Oh,
well, you know, and it's interesting talking back to Cabrera again. A lot of switch hitters, and I was a former switch hitter, would go kind of to the side that usually right-handed to not mess up your left-handed stroke. But he chose to still get up there from the left side. But you're right. You gotta look, zone them up. And you got to make sure that you get them up in the zone and lay off the low ones. One thing about Loney that I'm noticing, Dwayne, I don't know if you too, he looks thinner to me. He looks in really good shape.
Mm-hmm. There's a strike. I think you're absolutely right about that. In fact, I think that will help him in a couple areas. And one, he's not going to steal a lot of bases, but
no.
You'd like a guy to go first to third if you get an opportunity to do that. I think that'll help him there.
And I'm pretty sure that I'm right, because I remember sitting in this same angle from the first base side looking at him batting left-handed. And
you tend to notice that,
and
huh?
I kind of noticed that, you know, there's some part of him in the middle, just in the legs somewhere. He looks a little slimmer.
Yeah, you have a better view of the opposing dugout now, don't you? A ground ball. Weeks makes this play, and the Rays will leave 2. We're at the end of an inning, and it's 2-0 Boston. Reminder, opening day just around the corner. Join the Rays Monday, April 6th when they take on the Orioles. Get your tickets to experience all the fun and excitement of opening day by visiting RaysBaseball.com or calling 888-FAN-RAYS. That will be a big day. The Rays still have a few seats available. They anticipate having another sellout for opening day, but apparently last time we checked, there were still some seats available. And that's going to be, of course, opening day is always special. But some of the pregame ceremonies will include retiring the number of the late Don Zimmer. Xander Bogaerts takes the first pitch. It's in there for a strike. Bogaerts, then Hannigan and Weeks up here for John Farrell's club. One and one. Ball, 2 strikes. Karn's 27. And so in that way, this is a big spring and a big opportunity for him. He's always had that great arm with the breaking ball, but here you are in a situation where you've got a chance to make the major league staff, and he's done that. Roller deep short, and Cabrera's throw is right on the money. That's a nice play right there to get Bogaerts. Well, there's one of those plays, that we were talking about at shortstop.
Exactly. And, no problem right there. I mean, those are the ones that you got to have. I mean, last year this team was not terrible in defense, but I tell you, it seemed like every time they did make an error, Dwayne, it was costly and ended up turning a game around or losing a game. So you got to have those plays. You got to be strong up the middle. We've talked a lot all through the spring about Rivera. Kiermaier can go get it in center field, and Cabrera needs to do the same as short.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be fine there. Hannigan takes a strike. And while the defense was not atrocious last year, it was not up to what the Rays had established as their standard, and they really believe they have an opportunity to be significantly better, more consistent. They have a chance maybe to be a little more athletic this year than they were a year ago, because we remember that run of 5 or 6 years when this team was right there every day in the race. They were very athletic. This one carries all the way to the track. He didn't hit the ball that well, but with the wind blowing, Souza Jr. had to go back to the track to make the catch on that one.
Yeah, it's a very swirling wind. When the game started just a few minutes ago, it wasn't pulling that hard. It was kind of just, a little light to maybe the right center and a little carry. But all of a sudden, top half of this inning, it's really picked up. So now it's going to be interesting to see, the power hitters, the guys that got some good opposite field power, and definitely the big lefties like a Big Papi, David Ortiz, can loft one easy. That happens a lot. You know it as well as I, Dwayne, that you get some cheapy homers in spring training a lot.
Yeah, those spring wins for sure. Strike the count to Weeks. Quickly, Carnes ahead 0-2. Back to Carnes there for a moment. Coming in, trying to impress and find himself on this staff. And his focus is so much better. You talk to him and he'll tell you he's at a point where the big picture doesn't bother him so much. And boy, no chance on that pitch right there. That breaking ball is so good. 1-2-3. Go the Red Sox. 2-0 Boston. every spring, the Rays use Community Day to recognize and support some of the team's community partners here in Charlotte County. And today, before the game, the Rays recognize the Charlotte County Family YMCA and Charlotte County Habitat for Humanity. Donations in the form of those giant checks that you just saw there, and the ceremonial first pitches. This continues to be one of the best, and in fact last year I think it was USA Today's readers that voted this facility the best spring facility, most enjoyable, and boy, you can see why. Well, we see part of the Rays starting staff there. Matt Moore and Alex Cobb. Cobb did play a little catch today from about 60 or 70 feet with Ron Porterfield. And he's looking toward an April return to the Rays rotation. Of course, they can't get Matt Moore back soon enough. That'll probably be later in June. Jennings takes the 0-1 pitch and lifts it to Victorino with the first out. See what the pitching situation is. Alex Cobb with the forearm tendonitis, but catch today. Now he gets to a point where if he comes out of that well, and it seems that he did, it's a build-up to build that thing back up. Same thing with Drew Smiley with the shoulder tendonitis. Going to throw a bullpen tomorrow. And Matt Moore recovering from Tommy John surgery. A little bullpen session yesterday. Brandon Guyer takes a strike. Guyer hitting .385 this spring. Alex Colomé, as you know, was a late arrival and then had pneumonia. He officially was put on the disabled list as he tries to get ready for the season. Fly ball back into left. Ramirez makes the catch. A couple of quick outs here in the Rays half of the second inning. Cobb hoping to be ready somewhere in that third week of April, certainly before the month is out. And same thing with Alex Colomé, somewhere in that same vicinity. There's Colomé. Logan Forsythe takes a strike. Forsythe with 6 hits this spring, 3 of them home runs. Then he has a double and a triple. 2 of those home runs, opposite field home runs against the Phillies in their earlier trip to Clearwater against the Philadelphia Ball Club this spring. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Forsythe is out on strikes. That's the knuckleball. We're through 2 innings, 2-0 Boston. Rocco Baldelli on the coaching lines at first, and he'll chat with the rest of us when we come back. Third here in Charlotte County, 2-0 Boston on top. A new look on the bases for the Rays and the coaching boxes this year, and the rest is with Rocco Baldelli right now.
Sure enough, Dwayne, I tell you, I really like to be next to Rocco in uniform. The last couple of years that I run into him is at the Trop, but usually you're in the street clothes. Rocco, tell me how it feels to be back in uniform and doing this position of yours now as a coach.
It's been pretty awesome. You know, to get back in uniform, have fun with the guys, get out there, start working again out in the field. It's been great. They welcomed me back over here. It really couldn't have gone any better.
There's a lot of different things that you can offer, not only the base running, because you were a good base runner, but I saw Steven Souza come right to you, in fact, after that fly ball in the top of the second that kind of floated out there. And they can come to you with a lot of different advice. What do you think is going to be your core help for these some of the younger players?
Well, I mean, working with the outfielders, you know, honestly, it helps an outfield coach to be able to work with good athletes and guys who do a great job out there naturally. I mean, these guys are really talented, so it makes my life a little bit easier. And
you can do a little play-by-play, too, if you want. I mean, Dwayne's not going to mind.
We got to keep an eye out over here in case we get smoked over here.
I see that. But then again, you do have the helmet, and I'm going to say you wear the helmet a lot better than Tom Foley did all those years at third base. See, this helmet, you look sharp. You look like Dave Winfield back in the day getting ready to hit.
I'm going to remind Foe that you said that. I'll let him know. Trust me.
There's a new coaching staff. In fact, in a major degree, you're new at first base. Charlie Montoyo, a veteran, but, you know, back at third base coaching. A new skipper in Kevin Cash. So far, how has been the dynamics this spring, and how have the players been responding?
Well, a lot of us have known each other for a long time, and some of us have known Cash for a long time. And Kevin's been great. He's a really easy guy to get along with. But there's been a real good energy in camp so far, and you know, I give him the credit for that. I mean, he came in from day one and had the guys ready to go, and the guys were excited about playing for him, and he's been great.
You know, your position with the organization was all around a special advisor. You were traveling, visiting all the minor league teams from lower A all the way to AAA, so you got a good feel of a lot of these young guys that are here in camp. What's your take on some of them, and who are some of the guys that really to watch?
Well, it's really hard to start putting names on some of the guys. I mean, with a lot of the trades that we've made recently, you know, it's hard to lose our core major league players, but to replace them with the guys that we have, I can tell you that our guys in the player development, they're really excited to be working with these guys. And if you just venture over to the backfields, you'll be able to pick these guys out really easily.
And the guy that came over and was getting advice from you, Steven Souza, seems like a fine young man and a big boy who can really stick it. You know, what's your take on him? Not only defensively, offensively, but also speed. Seems like he has that part of his game, too.
Well, he's exactly what you look for. When you look for good young players, I mean, he's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's got a great work ethic. I mean, he's had tremendous success at the higher levels of the minor leagues. These are the things that we look for in players, and he's been a treat to work with so far. If you just come out and watch a little bit before the game, you get to see his ability. It stands out when he's out in the field, and physically look at him, he stands out as well.
And Rocco, last question is about the speed factor. You were a guy that ran the bases well. Where do you see this team compared to the last couple of years as far as being able to do some damage on the base path? Not only stolen bases, which they were not very good last year. That's a spike up. But first to third, scoring second to home. Where do you see this team so far this spring?
Well, we have some good base runners here, and we have some guys who are really good athletes. We have some guys that are above average runners who are going to go out there and steal some bases. And the guys that aren't as fast, we're just going to preach to be smart and to think. Before the pitch is thrown, let's take a second and slow it down a little bit and know what we got to do in a given situation. But I have no doubt that we'll be fine on the bases, and the guys who can run and create a little havoc, they're going to take every opportunity to do so.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us, man. I think they're going to be well served by a guy that was multifaceted. Dwayne, a coach that did a little bit of everything. Rocco Baldelli, back to you, buddy.
Yeah, and you're so right. It's great to see him back in uniform, and he can contribute in so many ways. He did that with his time in the front office, but it just seems such a natural fit for him to have that uniform on and be involved with what really now is starting to be a younger team, and it has been the last year or so. 1-2 the count to David Ortiz. The Red Sox have Brock Holt at first. He walked with one out. Ortiz drove in the first run of the game back in the first. Rays with the shift on again with Ortiz up there. 39 years old. That's a strike. And into second base goes Holt. Ortiz caught looking right there. And Holt has a steal. With the third strikeout for Carnes. And he went around. He tried to check, so that is a third strike swinging. And here's Hanley Ramirez. It's going to be fair and head into the corner. Jennings will have to go to the line to get it. Holt scores, and that makes it 3-0. Ramirez, who had driven in a run with a fly ball to right his first time, was a double this time. He has 11 runs batted in this spring. And boy, his willingness to go to the outfield and get his bat into this Red Sox lineup could turn out to be a big lift for them. Mike Napoli. Toward the corner. Don't forget the wind. And that's a fair ball and gone. How about that? Napoli keeps it just fair. There's Sam Holbrook down at first making the call. And with the wind and the power that Napoli has to begin with, here's another look at this. Sort of a glancing blow off the bat. And it had enough on it to just stay fair and get out of here. And just like that, it's 5-0 Boston. Well, there's that spring wind as Napoli hits his third home run of the spring.
You know, that was a cheapie for sure. But you know what I think Napoli was working on right there? The pesky pole at Fenway Stadium.
Yeah, sure.
Because how many times we've seen these little chipper, you know, these little, like my drive with my 3-wood, just like that. I'm trying to hit it straight, and it, you know, slices off to the right, and home run.
Yeah, just enough fade right around that pole.
Mine are not on purpose. A fade means you do it on purpose. Mine's a slice. But, no, that was definitely a cheap home run. Nate doesn't have to worry about that one, but you know, he's been up a little bit in the zone, but not too bad. He's made some good pitches.
So they turn this third inning into a 3-run frame. This is empty now, 2 gone, and Castillo ahead in the count 3-1. Longoria takes care of this. Second time he's thrown out Castillo. We go to the bottom of the third. 5-0 Boston. As the Rays come in to hit in the bottom of the third. Tomorrow, history will be made in Martinsville. The first ever NASCAR Sprint Cup points race will be broadcast on Fox Sports 1. Kurt Busch will look to defend his title from last year in the first short track race of the season. Coverage begins tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Mike Napoli, a home run down the right field line, a 2-run shot to build this Boston lead. Napoli hoping to stay healthy this year. That was not always the case, as you know, for him in a Red Sox uniform. And a dislocated finger that was a major issue for him a year ago. He played in just 119 games. And here's Curt Casali leading off the bottom of the third for the Rays. And he looks at a first pitch strike. Bogarts with the glove. He's got time. Casali's the first out. So one away, and we'll go back around to the top of the order. Well, that backup catching spot's been interesting to watch in the Rays camp. Bobby Wilson in camp as a non-roster guy, and Curt Casali battling it out. Not going to be an easy choice there. John Jaso takes the knuckleball in. So Curt Casali has the advantage of being on the roster already, and sometimes it becomes a logistics issue. But the Rays have certainly liked Bobby Wilson as well, and it starts with the job he does behind the plate, and also can contribute offensively. Jaso missed the knuckler. He's out on strikes. Second strikeout for Stephen Wright. 2 up, 2 down. Steven Souza Jr. That's a ball. Souza really can play all 3 outfield positions. He's in right field today. He can handle center field and left as well. We're ahead in the count now. 3-0. Wright has set his own tempo right there, and Souza getting time from the plate umpire. Into left. Ramirez, and now Castillo. The ball carried back towards center field. Started in left, and with the wind out of the left field corner, Castillo in center made the grab. Kevin Cash will chat with Orestes Estrada in a moment.
losing 5-0 in the top half of the fourth in Port Charlotte, and with me the new skipper. Sounds a good ring to it, Kevin Cash. Tell me, so far, what's been the pulse of your team throughout this first spring training of yours?
Oh, I think it's been great. The energy level's been up a bit. Well, to be honest, though, we're probably about ready to go now. Everybody's ready to get back to the Trop, get it home. Some of our hometown fans. Not that we have great fans here, but we want to get in our building.
Well, listen, this team is built around pitching and obviously defense and some speed. I think you've added a little bit of all of that, but had to look at some of the guys like Andrizzi and obviously Carnes, some of these kind of guys that have been really surprising this spring. Who has really impressed you so far?
Well, you named a couple. I mean, I think Carnesy and Andrizzi have really thrown the ball well. They've stepped up. We've said all along there was an open spot in there for competition. Now there's just a couple more. So we're happy with what we have. Matt and his group in the front office did a tremendous job of bringing guys in, and then also the development where Carnes is and Andrizzi.
Yeah, I always think the catchers make good managers, even if they've never managed, because they understand the game. One of the things that's the best weapon for them, or best friend, is the bullpen. Your take on your bullpen so far and how you're going to matriculate through the first part of the season to make sure that you don't stretch them out too much.
Well, early on, we're going to ask some guys to probably step up a little bit for us, especially with a couple starters being down and then also Jake McGee. But we're happy about the guys we have, and then we're going to be that much better off when Jake gets back. And
Drew Smiley will be doing a little bullpen tomorrow. I see you're already nodding. I'm happy to hear that. How has been the day-to-day report on his shoulder?
It's been good. Everybody. Cobber's been good. He played catch today, and Drew will advance a bullpen and possibly get to face some hitters here next week sometime.
For you, what do you want to try to see coming into April? You know very well how rough it was for them, but forget about the first-year manager deal. Just as a ball player, now as a skipper, what do you want to try to get out of April?
Well, I guess get our guys back healthy. That'd be first and foremost. But, maintain what we've done all spring. The guys really have had good, consistent energy, and, we're playing the game the right way. So I'm excited about it.
Listen, good luck this year, and we're excited to have you aboard, and have a great year.
Too. Thank you very much.
There you have it, Kevin Cash. He's a skipper straight from the hip. He'll tell you as it is, Dwayne, and I really like what he's brought to the table so far for this team in the spring.
Yeah, and he's been challenged because of all these injuries. Oh, don't you think that, you want to stay away from injuries, but if you're going to have them, if you think about it, the spring training might be the time to have them because, for an example, here's Cobb. He's got to now build himself back up to the point where he can pitch again competitively in the big leagues. Well, if you get hurt during the regular season, you lose more time. At least you can take this time, 2-3 weeks, to get back to a point where you can rock and roll, and you're not losing as much time as you might during the regular season.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when you think about injuries, you think the level factor of that injury. And, for example, there's a ground ball. There you go. There's a routine play right there. As we've been talking about this Drupal Cabrera, no problem. And you think about some of the devastating injuries to, let's say, the Mets. Already a couple of Tommy Johns. You think of Christian Vasquez for the Boston Red Sox. They were counting highly on that talented young catcher. He's done. They just found out today he's going to have Tommy John. For the Rays, it's been kind of little nicky injuries. I just talked in between innings to Alex Colomé, and, man, he was pumped up. He looks good. He's put the weight back on. So there's another arm that he said he just threw a 40-pitch bullpen session, and he feels like he's coming along strongly.
Yeah, and if you're going to be down, you might as well be down during spring training, right? Because the games don't mean anything there, and you can use that time during spring training games to build yourself back up and be ready to go. And the Rays are hopeful that all those starters will be ready sometime in probably late April, and then later on in the year, you're hopeful of getting Matty Moore back. So, and if they get him back, and the Rays take a lot of time, they're very cautious that way. It's almost like making a trade without giving up anybody if you can add a guy like Matt Moore who comes back, say, in late June, ready to go.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if you get those type of guys that come around, Matty Moore in late June, early July, Cobb around the corner still in April, and obviously Smiley maybe mid to late April, yeah, you're just all of a sudden fortified. Now, the key is, as I was just talking to manager Kevin Cash, how do you matriculate through that bullpen in April. Last year was difficult for the Rays. We had some short stints for our starters for many consecutive games, Dwayne. Long games, a lot of bullpen guys that were being stretched out too quick, too long.
It's going to be a challenge to put together, to take advantage of the off days. They're going to try that already. A 3-game series against Baltimore, then a day off before the Rays hit the road and go to Miami to play the Marlins. So they're going to try to take advantage of all that they can. And they're going to have to use some of the depth. You know, I mean, here's Carnes stepping in. He thought he was going to compete for a 5th spot. He's in the top 3 in the rotation right now. Matt Andreessen, you guys talked about. He's an intriguing guy to me because of the kind of pitcher he is.
You like him, don't
I do. I really like him. I think he's a guy who can give you quality innings. That's what you want and need. He's a sinker ball guy. He's thrown a changeup effectively this spring. And I think he's kind of that dark horse. He's not a guy who calls a lot of attention to himself. He just goes out there and takes care of business. Doesn't let the moment get bigger than he is. Down to second, and the runner is in there. Weeks with a stolen base. He's 5 of 5 this spring. And so Andriese, I think, potentially could be one of those guys who could really help. It's a great opportunity for him. And the way he goes about his business, I really like what he does. We've also seen Mike Montgomery, great arm, and it's a matter of consistency for him. He could help, and along comes Everett Teaford as well. And I saw him pitch a couple innings earlier in the spring up in Clearwater against the Phillies. Here's Weeks headed to the plate, and a throw to the first base side. He is safe. Victorino's going to go to second on the play, an RBI single. Victorino makes it a 6-0 ball game and winds up in scoring position as Weeks scores from second. And back to Teaford.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who I think suddenly realizes that he's in serious consideration for an important part of this team, maybe even bigger than he thought he would be. And the one thing he gives you is good presence out there, and had very good command in that outing. I saw him against the Phillies. Put the ball where he wanted. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. And the Rays do have enough depth that these are legitimate chances for these pitchers to come in and contribute to the staff early in the year.
Yeah, and Everett Teaford is kind of an interesting guy because, you know, I was talking to Kevin Cash before the game, and he likes the way how he even drops to the side on some lefties. So, well, you know, listen, the bullpen is dramatically righty heavy. But, I mean, we've got some really good right-handed pitchers coming out of the bullpen. But, you know, maybe a Teaford might, you know, get an opportunity, if not as a starter, if it's too full there, Dwayne. Maybe coming out of the pen, especially if he can drop down a little bit and get some of these big boy lefties out.
Brock Holt, Rays have yet to get him out today. He has a single and a walk and 2 runs scored. And really, here's a guy, he's sort of out of the Rays mold for Boston. Brock Holt plays everywhere. He gives you good at-bats. He'll work an at-bat. And from the first time we saw him surface with the Red Sox, you just had the feeling that he's the kind of guy that the Rays really would covet, because we saw what Ben Zobrist did here, and versatility is a big part of the success story of the Rays, because it contributes depth to a team and maneuverability. And now the Red Sox have a guy like that in Brock Holt.
Yeah, and then they got another guy in Mookie Betts that, man, that guy, I don't like to see him in a game. I really don't. Last year just hurt us late in the season. Again, it was a season that was lost for the Red Sox by September, but he was very impressive.
Yes, he was. Our first time we saw him, that series, was, boy, he is special, and the Red Sox know it. Jennings takes care of Holt's little looper. We go to the bottom of the 4th, 6-0 Boston. leads this one. Well, opening day just 9 days away. And we'll be right there. Our coverage on Sun Sports begins at 1:30, leading up to that 3:10 first pitch. The Rays hosting the Baltimore Orioles Monday, the 6th of April. So we're there to cover all of the festivities of opening day. We mentioned earlier that pregame ceremonies will include retiring Don Zimmer's number 66 in honor of the late Don Zimmer. Tickets currently still available, although the Rays do anticipate their 10th consecutive opening day sellout. Gates will open at noon that day, and the Rays will have players at the gates greeting fans for the first few minutes. Parking lots open at 11 a.m. and our coverage begins at 1:30. And Chris Archer will get that start, that opening day start for the Rays. In fact, Chris Archer and Jake Odorizzi both pitching today as well, pitching minor league games here at the complex today. As Drupal Cabrera looks at strike one from Stephen Wright. 0-2. Cabrera walked his first time. Through the first 3 innings, Wright has picked up a couple strikeouts. He's given up 2 base runners, both on walks. A ball, 2 strikes. Weeks at second. Takes care of this one. The rest is these knuckleballers just do nothing but frustrate you.
Basically, I mean, you know, I actually many years ago played with Timmy Wakefield when he was not a knuckleballer. We were both with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was a hitter, an outfielder, first baseman and infielder. But man, he threw different types of knuckleballs, a harder one, a slower one. You know, this kid seems to kind of stay pretty steady. I've been asking some of the guys, and they say that it's a pretty good clip and nice movement.
The fly ball going to drop into Wright. The Rays get their first hit off Wright. Longoria drops a single in front of Victorino. Well, there's a start. Well, as a hitter, sometimes you can just be motoring along, having a nice little stretch. You run into a knuckleballer, and he messes the whole thing up on you.
Yeah, and you don't kind of want it in spring training. I mean, probably the worst thing to see in spring training is a knuckleballer. The worst thing to see is a guy that's super wild and throws, 100 miles an hour with a lot of movement and can't, find the zone. So you can't track the ball very well in spring training. And the second worst is a knuckleballer, because then you can't track that either. So you want a guy that throws about 93, 94, but throws strikes. Mm-hmm. And, save those knuckleballers for later mid-season, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and even then, unless they're just floating them up there and they're not doing much, the best thing to do, I think, is just battle your way through it. And then put it out of your mind as if it didn't happen and go on with the next day.
It's exactly what you have to do, because if you kind of try to psychoanalyze the at-bats after the game, you took a caller 0 for 3, 0 for 4, it'll mess you up for the next day. Just go back. And the thing that I used to do after I faced a Candiotti or somebody like that, I would then go back and just take, tee batting, almost sometimes right after the game, just to get myself back on top of the ball and to remind myself, of what I needed to do. But I did ask Brandon Geyer, compared to Dickey's knuckleball. He goes, no, it's not as devastating as R.A. Dickey's knuckleball.
Mm-hmm. Loney fouls it away, and so the count's 1-2 to James Loney. Yeah, sometimes you don't know which is more difficult, to catch a knuckleball or hit it. but I'm gonna vote for hitting it.
Yeah, hitting is no fun, but I've played catch with two of the best of all time, I think. Charlie Huff and Phil Niekro. And Niekro was ridiculous. He would purposely try to hit me in my body when he wanted to. Just playing catch. He would go, okay, here it comes. I'm going to tell you the really. And it'd be like, whoa. And I'm going, you kidding me?
Yeah, knowing him, he'd just do that for fun.
For fun.
Yeah.
For fun.
Yeah.
Charlie, it was okay. I can hang with Charlie, but Phil Niekro was ridiculous.
That last pitch that Loney just fouled off gives you a great idea of how frustrating it can be. Loney started to step into that pitch thinking it was going to be away from him.
And
all of a sudden, it's like right there on his hands.
Yeah, it's
and
terrible.
He fouls it off. You go, okay, good. Thank you very much. Well, let's see if we can get somebody else in here. Let's take a look at Loney on that pitch right here.
Yeah, he's going, okay, yeah, it's going away. I'm going to go, oh, no, wait a second. It came back in on me. Wait a second.
And you saw where Hannigan wound up. He thought it was going to be wild, and then he starts to lunge toward the right side.
The law of physics should not allow that, right?
Yeah. There's a little battle here by Loney against Wright's knuckleball.
And talking about Loney, saying that, he lost some weight and all that. If we get these guys that we were talking about in the pregame and we've been talking about a lot during the spring, get on base. The Jasos with a high on base percentage, but more the speed guys like Jennings and obviously Franklin. That one was special.
Thank you. Yes, thank you a lot.
That one was special.
Wow, take a look at this thing.
That one had more volume to it. You see it?
Yep.
Yeah, that one had a little more depth. That was one that he hadn't seen. But, if you get these guys on, the way that James can just punch a single all the time, the left center and right center, last year, not enough foot speed for a lot of guys to score, not enough guys on base. And I think with as many guys that could potentially be on base in front of him, he can go back to that year he had a few years ago with the Dodgers where he drove in, upper 80s, and I think one year he had around 90 RBI. So it's very capable for him.
Yeah, because he's tough to pitch to, particularly, I think, with men on base. Here's Jennings, and he rockets it foul just outside the line. 1-1. Interesting, too, Kevin Cash talking about dropping Jennings down in the lineup. He appreciates his strength. He can be an extra base guy. He never really has been a consistent on-base percentage guy at the top. And dropping him down might define things a little clearer for him and let him use some of that strength, you think?
I think so. I remember Terry Francona doing that with Jacoby Ellsbury a few years back, where they finally said, okay, you got some talents and you got some pop. Let's move you back down in the order, because what you don't have is on base percentage. So let's just change the game, take that pressure off, maybe put you 6th, 7th, 8th, or whatever. And then he found it, and now Jacoby is an all-around player that does get on base. I think eventually Desmond Jennings should be a 1-2 type of a hitter in my book. Once he, figures it out and really starts getting on base a lot more and punching the ball to the right side with two strikes and getting that average up around 300 and the on-base percentage over 350.
Headed to Bogaerts, and it skips away from him into shallow left. Longoria is going to go to third, and that'll keep the inning going. And Jennings is aboard. Watch his ball on Bogaerts again. It just came up on his glove as he tried to play it off to his left. And that's going to go as an error, his second of the spring. And the Rays now will have men on the corners for Brandon Geyer.
Brandon just missed one on the knuckleball last time.
And that's a strike. So the Rays, for the first time in this game, have a man as far as third base. Trying to take advantage of this error. You know, you're talking about on-base percentage of Jennings. You know, overall last year, the Rays on-base percentage wasn't what they would necessarily want, but overall they got a lot of men on base and a lot of men in scoring position. The problem was getting them home. I think they were 12th in the major leagues in on-base percentage overall. There's one up the middle, and that'll get a run home. Longoria crosses the plate, and the Rays are on the board. And that was one of the big problems with the Rays, hitting with men in scoring position last year, because they did manage to get men on, but just couldn't get them home.
Yeah, and a couple of things to that. One other addition was they were abysmal with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. They're getting that key hit, like what Brandon Guyer just finished doing. But also, talking back again, where we talked about with Rocco Baldelli, and you and I have been talking about, Dwayne, the foot speed just wasn't there. When you had a guy like Yuni Escobar, who I just had an off year last year compared to the year before, but scored barely 30-something runs in over 130 starts. That's meaning that you're on second base and you're not scoring on a single somehow, and you're being stopped at third. So a lot of that is foot speed, and the fact that you were just failing with, in your RISP, in the runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and, the Rays prided themselves in going first to third and second to home.
Not last year.
That was a point of emphasis for a long time with this team, but you're right. That didn't happen the way the Rays had made it happen almost routinely in the 5 or 6 years leading up to last year's disappointing season. Here's Forsythe shooting it into left. That's going to be in there for a base hit. That will score Jennings, and the Rays with a couple 2-out runs here. Guyer winds up at third, and Forsythe drives in a run.
And the beauty about this right here is getting the opportunities to have that muscle memory of getting a base hit with 2 outs. It really is not the outcome of these games. As you aforementioned, Dwayne, the winning or losing, you just want to, show up well, play a little, close to 500 as you finish spring training, try to stay as healthy as possible. But individual situations, individual at-bats, individual pitch hitter counts, here's where you want to do well.
And Casale jumps on the first pitch, driving in Guyer. Just like that, the Rays have cut the deficit in half, and it's happened quickly with 2 outs here to make it 6-3.
Well, the knuckleballs maybe flattening out just a little bit, and you get that third time around. Even against a knuckleballer, it's the stats don't lie when it comes to that third time around with any pitcher. And there might be an opportunity here to do something special.
Well, the Rays, just like that, have the potential tying run at the plate in John Jaso. And he takes a strike. It shows you how difficult it is to get 4 outs. That's the amazing thing in this game.
Error. You're right.
The error, then you're out of the inning, but the error keeps it going, and that's followed by 3 straight hits. Now it's 1-1. So just another reason that the Rays hope to tighten up their defense this year and cut down on the opportunities they give the opposition.
And people, Dwayne, might think, well, knuckleballer, they don't really effort too much here, so they shouldn't be getting tired like a normal guy, trying to build up pitches. But believe it or not, it's not so much the tiredness, but if you get a little bit, fatigue, it's where the arm slot is exactly where your wrist wants to be in order to throw that strike as a knuckleball. You got everything right now is repetition. You're trying to get those quick twitch muscles and muscle memory as a hitter, or a pitcher, or a catcher, whatever it is, defensive player, in the right slot. And maybe right now Wright is tiring just a little bit, not there.
That's a good point. We saw Brandon Gomes listening in the bullpen. That is an interesting point, because knuckleball pitchers will tell you, they want to be nice and easy out there. And if you do get an extended inning, there might be a little more effort put into that than they want.
Sure, especially in their wrist, believe it or not, of the placement of their wrist.
Mm-hmm.
Because that really is kind of what pushes the ball. Talking to Timmy Wakefield over the years, and I said, man, how do you get that thing to be at least somewhere where you wanted to be in the vicinity. And he goes, man, if my wrist tweaks a little bit and turns and I don't get it just where I want it at my release point, then I have really no idea where it's going.
Now the count is full to Jaso. Action in the Red Sox bullpen as well. It's Matt Barnes. He's a guy who gets it up there, 94 or so. So that'll be a little different look. And ball 4. So the Rays load the bases. Jaso draws his second walk of the day. And Steven Souza Jr. up here with them loaded and 2 outs. Big opportunity for the Rays. All of their runs have come with 2 outs in the inning. Forsythe at third, Casali at second, Jaso at first. 5 consecutive hitters have reached base. And a swing, and this one rebounds off the bottom of the screen, and so no chance for a move up.
That was kind of a weird thing because it seemed like it hit a foul ball, but I don't really think the sound was off of the catcher's mitt, not off of the bat, I think, because the catcher sure went after it thinking that it, no, he didn't. I don't think he touched that ball. That was a moving knuckleball right there.
And there is a base hit off the glove of Bogaerts. Forsythe scores. Casali's going to score. And the Rays have 5 runs home with 2 outs here in the 4th. Steven Souza Jr. drives in a pair with that base hit off the shortstop's glove.
And that'll be it, Dwayne.
Yep, that's it. All of this after the error. Souza picking up 2 runs batted in. And that's going to be it for the 30-year-old knuckleballer. We'll be right back. The inning continues. Game, it's 6-5. They'll continue to bat in the bottom of the 4th inning. Rays up this season with the Rays Flex Packs featuring a Rays pullover. These 3, 6, or 9 game packs offer huge savings and great rewards throughout the season, and pricing begins at just $59. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Opening day, Monday, April 6th against Baltimore. Rays home just 3 games. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And here's Matt Barnes, the new pitcher. Right-hander out of the University of Connecticut. And in contrast to the knuckleballer, this fastball can get up there in the mid-90s. And the Rays will have Asdrubal Cabrera due up to face Barnes. Red Sox have hoped to sort out their pitching. They have some new faces, and they have some ground ball pitchers they've added. But to this point this spring, their pitching has not yet hit the stride that John Farrell is looking for. And here the Rays have taken advantage of the error, following up with 3 consecutive hits, then a walk and another hit after the error, and they've scored 5. Here's Cabrera now against Barnes. Pitch down and in, snap throw to first, and back in is Souza Jr. Hannigan taking a shot. A pretty good peg down there by Hannigan. Hannigan hoping to stay healthy, and as we know with the Rays, that was an issue. Strike right around the knees. It's 1-1. Ryan Hannigan, veteran catcher. He wound up at least for a short time with San Diego from the Rays, and then he was involved in the deal when the Red Sox sent Middlebrooks to San Diego. Ground ball headed toward the middle, and Bogart shaded that way. Will get the force, and the Rays are finally retired, but they get right back in this thing. Charlie Montoyo will be visiting with Orestes when we return.
Inning, the Rays with a big bottom of the fourth, 6-5, trailing Boston Red Sox here in Port Charlotte. And it's a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful day for my guest right here, because Charlie Montoyo, after 18 years of being with this organization in the big leagues. Welcome to the Rays in the big leagues, Charlie. And what have been, your expectations so far, and your thoughts about this big league camp?
It's been great. By the way, good timing to have me here, because we just scored 5 runs, so perfect time.
Yeah, good luck, right?
Yes, I hope so. And anyways, my expectations are great. As you know, I've been here for a long time, and just to be with the Rays now, I've always been a Ray, and now to be in the big leagues with the club, it's a dream come true.
Well, one of the things that you bring to the table here right away is some of the guys that are going to be making this team, some of the guys that are going to be getting called up, and some of the guys going to be impactful on this team that you manage in Durham, including Brandon Gomes, who's on the mound right now, who's up and down the last couple of years. What does that bring, and what do you share with Kevin Cash and Tom Foley and the staff with reference to that?
Of everybody, I probably know those players more than anybody, because they all played for me for a long time, and it's going to be fun for me to see them in the big leagues. I'm not going to be the one telling them they're coming to the big leagues, but I'm going to be here to hug them and help them out and tell Catch about them.
Yeah, there's 3 new coaches here, but there's 4 new positions, so to speak. You got a new manager, skipper in Cash. You got a new first base coach in Rocco Baldelli, and obviously a new bench coach in Tom Foley, the veteran. And yourself now moves over to third base. You've done the third base coaching before, but I'm assuming you've been talking to Tom Foley a lot as far as trying to get some ideas as to the league and the arms and the outfield.
You know, our front office is great. You know, I'm getting all the stats of the arms of the whole league and stuff. And like somebody asked me, you know, are you going to be ready to coach third base in the big leagues? And I go, you know, I've been practicing for 18 years, so it's going to be okay. But again, having Tom Foley here is going to help a lot. He already has.
You know, there's a ground ball to Asdrubal Cabrera, and I can't help but think the Hispanic ball players have been such an impact for so many years. We just lost a great one in Orestes Mini Minoso, one of the pioneers. Yourself as, and by the way, you were born in Florida, but not Florida.
Right. Puerto Rico.
Oh, Florida, Puerto Rico. It's a different Florida. But, you know, the Puerto Rico influence, Rene Rivera now is coming over here. Asdrubal Cabrera, obviously, Alex. The pitcher. What is your thought on the Latin players in today's game, but also mainly for the Rays?
I'll tell you what, for sure, the 2 ones we got here, Cabrera and Rivera, they're not only they're good players, they're good people. So the chemistry in the clubhouse is already great just because those 2 kids. So, you know, it's going to be fun. And again, I'm going to have front seat there watching them play every day.
You know, one more thing in reference to being at third base. Your thoughts on some of the things that you can do with the base running first to third. I was just talking to Rocco Baldelli, and Dwayne and I were talking about the fact that this team seems to be more athletic, seems to be faster. You're going to be looking to give some green lights to certain players, or is this still coming from the bench?
Well, not knowing from what I know from Cash so far, he's going to be aggressive and he's going to get players moving and stuff, and I'm excited about that, you know. And so, like you said, we got a faster team than we had last year, so that's going to be fun. And the base runner is going to get better. Rocco was a good base runner when he played, so that's going to help a lot.
Well, I tell you, Rocco was telling me that he had the best interview of the 3 of you guys, but now I'm telling you, we saved the best for last. Right here with Charlie Montoyo. You win, brother. You win.
Thank you, Ressa. Thank you very much.
Good luck to you this year, Charlie. Appreciate it. There you go, man. A great coaching staff that we've had a chance to visit through in this game, Dwayne, between Charlie Montoyo moving over to third base, Rocco Baldelli obviously at first base, and Kevin Cash. This is a pretty young, exciting, energetic, and dynamic group.
Yeah, it's great to see Charlie up after such a great run of success in the minor leagues. You know, he got to Durham, I think, in 2007, and over the next 8 years had 7 first place finishes in 8 years with Durham. He just did such a great job. He's chatting with Chico Fernandez right there to get some advice as to what he should do next, as all of the Rays coaching staff does. And that's a good move as well. He's already, you know, his ego's not so big that he's not going to ask Chico for help. And I think that's a very important aspect of being a member of this Rays staff, to always go to the source, Chico, and ask him if you're ever in doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chico Fernandez, he is one of those call centers, too. You just 1-800-CALL-CHICO for pretty much anything. It's not just baseball, it's that related. That's anything in life.
You can see the calmness. He's sort of Buddha-like there. Great calmness right there.
Did you just say Buddha-like?
Well, it's all about being calm and dispensing wisdom.
Okay, but that wasn't about any physicality having to do with that. That was more about
everything to do with the spiritual aura.
Because you could have gone Dalai Lama, you could have gone, you know, a lot of other, you know, places, but you went Buddha.
Yeah. Well, he probably asked. Charlie asked Chico how he did with the interview with you. See if he had any advice.
Yeah, Chico, I needed to turn to Chico to get Alex Colom's last name. That was for sure. I tell you, starting to remember all the names now, but this is a very good coaching staff, it seems to be. And again, I can't say enough about the high energy about him.
Napoli taps it to third, gloved, and they have time with Napoli going down the line. He's out of there. Longoria Deloney, 1-2-3 for Brandon Gomes. 1-run ball game, 6-5 Boston. the fourth inning, showing why you don't give the opposition an extra out right after the error. Brandon Gomes singled in a run. Logan Forsythe followed with a base hit to chase home another run. Kirk Casale jumped on the first pitch, drove in a single. That chased home a run. After Jaso's walk, Souza's ground ball off the glove of Bogaerts, and Steven Souza Jr. picked up 2 RBIs on that to make it 6-5. Rays cashing in, if you will, on that opportunity to make it a 1-run ball game as we head into the bottom of the 6th inning. There's Kevin Cash. Kevin just 37, so that's this staff under Kevin Cash, as you pointed out, I think it's going to be a very fun and interesting coaching staff for this group.
I really do, and I think one of the things that's going to kind of tie it all in together with the 3 new guys that we've talked to today, and Cash, Montoyo, and Rocco, is actually the veteran, and that's Tom Foley. Because Tom Foley now moves over, and I kid him about not getting to wear his helmet now. And he's actually missing it. I said, hey, dude, you don't have to wear the helmet. He goes, I may have to wear it in the opener just for old time's sake. but he, he ties it all in because this is a guy that's done it and seen it all. And he's going to be right next to Kevin Cash, giving him advice, giving Montoyo advice, giving Rocco Baldelli, so he's going to be I think the major conduit, obviously along with the guru Jim Hickey, but it's a different deal with Jim centering on the pitcher. So Tom Foley all of a sudden becomes a very, very key person. Yeah,
all 3 of the new additions pay their respects to Tom Foley, almost like kissing the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Of a guy. Cash certainly happy to have Tom Foley as the bench coach, and there you've got Rocco Baldelli. He's assumed the helmet on the baseline.
Right.
And then you've got
he looks good with the helmet. The reason I'm saying that is because I never thought that Tom Foley looked good with the helmet. I'm sorry. It must be his head is oblonged or something. He just didn't look.
Yeah, and then Charlie in the interview with you talking about how great it is to have Foley here to help him. There's a lot of work more than just relaying sides.
Totally.
You've got to familiarize yourself with the arms in the league and know when to send guys and when not to. And a big cut and a miss right there on that pitch.
And who to push on the bases and who not to push on the bases. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All the way to Loney Longoria. You know what I mean? We're not, the speeches of this team, but, what to do with them. I mean, a third base coach is massively important. If done well, you kind of almost goes under the radar. If done badly, man, do you notice him?
Yep. So there's Foley contributing to Rocco's helmet, the headgear down there. He's contributing to Montoya with outfield arms and all the rest that goes with coaching third. And at the same time, he's serving as the bench coach for Kevin Cash. So Tom Foley, a very important part of this Rays staff. Well, Barnes battled that comebacker, but managed to finally grab it, and Loney is the second out here. Barnes took over in the 5th inning and got Cabrera to hit into a force play to end that. And now he works here with 2 outs and the bases empty in the bottom of the 5th. Desmond Jennings pitches down. Barnes with a good fastball, and they like his curveball as well, and he'll throw the changeup. He pops him up. Bogaerts going to shade his eyes, handles that one, and it's 1-2-3. We're headed into the 6th inning in a 6-5 contest. baseball in Charlotte County. Experience Charlotte Sports Park, rated the #1 spring training ballpark by the readers of USA Today. Just a couple games remain against the Red Sox and Orioles. You can buy now at raysbaseball.com/spring. Temperature in the mid-60s. Clear skies, a breeze blowing across from the left field corner out toward Wright. Rusney Castillo leading off the 6th inning against Brandon Gomes, who had a 1-2-3 fifth. Gomes in as a non-roster pitcher, and he has had a very good spring and a very quick 5th inning in relief of Carnes. Carnes worked the first 4. He made a little over 70 pitches today. There's a strike. You see, there's the bullpen competition, and Gomes is right in the middle of it. Has not given up an earned run. All of their numbers really have been good in that battle for remaining spots in the bullpen. That's a tapper, and it will roll foul, grabbed by Casale. And the count is now a ball and 2 strikes. Red Sox scored 2 in the first, 3 in the third, and 1 in the fourth, and the Rays scored all 5 of their runs with 2 outs in the 4th inning. Castillo pops it up. That pitch in on him. And he is out #1. Forsythe taking care of that. Couple changes for the Rays. Down at third base, Alexi Casilla takes over. Tim Beckham in there at shortstop. And that's Francisco over at first, replacing Loney here in the 6th inning. Fly ball by Bogaerts into left. And that's handled by Brown, who's just entered the game out there. So 2 outs in the 6th inning. So Alexi Casilla is at third. Tim Beckham's at short. Juan Francisco is at first, and Corey Brown is in left. And Ryan Hannigan bats with 2 outs and the bases empty in the 6th inning. There's a strike. There's Gomes. Split last year between the Rays and Durham. Just 30 years old. 0-2. And boy, he looks healthy now. Remember the year before, he had some issues that kept him from being at full speed. Headed up the middle off that 0-2 pitch. Was guided into center field by Hannigan. And now the Red Sox pick up hit number 7. Well, that's 6, actually. A 2-out single here. 5 hits allowed by Nathan Carnes, and the first hit given up by Gomes. Here's Weeks. The pitch, it's a strike at the knees. Weeks has struck out and walked, has a stolen base, and has scored a run. Oh, 2. Drops low. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pulled toward right center field, and he's going to gap this one. Going to roll to the track. Hannigan being waved around by Brian Butterfield. The throw will come through, but not in time. A double for Weeks. And the Red Sox add to their lead to make it a 2-run ball game. Weeks driving in his 2nd run of the spring, and Hannigan scores all the way from first. Weeks picking up his 4th double of the spring. Now we go to the top of the orders. Victorino. One ball, no strikes. It's been a battle for Shane Victorino to stay healthy. He's had a number of injuries, back, hamstring, some core issues, and that's cost him the ability to switch hit. 1-1 now.
An interesting thing, Dwayne, with Victorino with these injuries is that came to spring planning to switch hit like he used to and had to scrap it. It was bugging him again. So now he's righty-righty, which surprisingly, when he did it last year, he raked. He hit the ball very well. So he's one of these guys that's adapted to righty-righty.
Well, this one is foul, and it's 1-2. But you can relate to switch hitting, although you know your story's a little different than I think the average switch hitter, because I mean you switched all the way around, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it was crazy because I was born lefty, and then my dad made me righty as a baby, as a young child, and then remembered that I was lefty when I was playing basketball at about 8 years old. He goes, "Wait a second, you're lefty." So then he made me a switch hitter. But you know, they have another guy in Daniel Nava who's scrapped to the right side.
Yep.
He's going to go all lefty. So interesting.
And Victorino is out of there on strikes. Red Sox add a run. Bottom of the 6th coming. It's 7-5 Boston. Coming in a hit in the bottom of the 6th. Well, we're ready for another exciting season of Rays baseball. Purchase your 2015 ticket plan today to get the best seat locations. Choose from a variety of plans, and don't miss a minute of all the fun with Rays baseball. For ticket plan information, visit raysbaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Comfortable afternoon. Breeze in the ballpark. We head into the bottom of inning 6. Brandon Guyer will step in here against the right-hander Matt Barnes. Logan Forsythe will be next, and then Kurt Jasali is due to hit. Geyer drove in a run and scored a run in the 5-run fourth for the Rays, and there's Logan Forsythe on deck. Close. No ball, no strikes. Trouble catching up on that one. Rays now with action in the bullpen. Jeff Beliveau, the lefty, loosening. And he pours another fastball in there around 94. Well, Barnes has what's pretty much that classic pitcher's build. He's about 6'4". A little more than 200 pounds. Geyer stays alive, fouling it off. He was a first-round pick by the Red Sox in 2011. And we saw in the 5th inning on that curveball he threw to Gory. He's got some downward motion on that one. That ball is pretty well hit. Well, one hopped the wall. And into second base goes Geyer. So Geyer, battling him, stayed alive and now has a leadoff 2-base hit. Geyer right on that one. His second hit of the day. And now it's Logan Forsythe. That one at 95 in around the knees for a strike. And in scoring position with nobody out. You can see how he can be quick. He got ahead of Brandon Geyer the same way, and now quickly ahead of Forsythe. Upstairs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And this one gets Hannigan. I'm not Hannigan a little shaken up there. John Farrell out to take a look. Let's take another look at this. And a foul ball by Forsythe. Well, with all the protection you've got there, it finds a spot that's not protected. So the count holds at 1-2. Curveball there, breaking away 2-2. Pretty good downward action on the curveball. That one a little more of a sweeping type. Well, he threw one right over the top to Longoria to get him. And that is strike 3 call. So Forsythe caught looking on the breaking stuff. Right now, let's go back down to Orestes with a guest.
I'm here with Brandon Gomes. Brandon, 2 solid innings. You gave up that one little nicky rung. I'm sure you'd like to have it back. But, you know, you've had a strong spring training. And, you know, you need to come in here, show your wares again. You're kind of a veteran already of this bullpen. So far, how do you feel about yourself physically, which is so important?
Yeah, physically I feel great. My mechanics feel good. And just really focusing on going out there and, you know, attacking hitters with all 3 pitches. And, you know, I gave up that run there, but they were all, you know, I was going after guys, so can't be too upset with that, especially now.
In that point, you know, even in spring training, your thought pattern is strike throwing and make sure that you get the movement with the sinker, the slider, the splitter. How good are all 3 pitches coming into form right now for you?
Yeah, they're good. My splitty is as good as it's been since I've been in the big leagues, and some mechanical stuff has really helped me get that to a consistent point. And my slider's back. I lost it a little bit last year throwing the cutter. So coming in right out the gate, just throwing sliders has been a big help.
One of the things that I like about you is as far as your confidence, and it seems like this spring, you know, you're coming in knowing there's a spot, but there's a spot for you to lose, not to have to win, because you feel that confident. New management, though, new head coach, new skipper, that you got to kind of prove a little bit of your wares. What has he been telling you?
You know, he's always on our side. He's just same thing. I think he likes guys that go out and pound the zone. And all I can do is pitch my game, and hopefully that's something that, you know, Kev likes and the front office likes.
You've seen the dynamic versions of this team, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can go back to 12 when you were a part of it, and it really struggled. Last year, some of the struggling. 11 with the dramatic year. What makeup and kind of pulse do you see with this team so far this early in the season and in spring?
I really like it. I think it's a great group of guys. I think everybody complements each other very well. We're going to pitch and play D like we always do, but I think our lineup's a lot better than people are giving us credit for.
One of the things that this team has been able to build with Joe Madden from 8 on was this little bit of the swagger. A lot of new faces on the field. Forget about, you know, management and all that. On the field would play the X's and O's. Swagger's still there, you feel, in this clubhouse, and still believe about what they can do in the AL East?
Absolutely. I mean, we have guys that have been there, you know, from 11 and then long go back to 08, and, you know, those are the guys we're looking to. And then, you know, the coaching staff has the utmost confidence in all the guys, so that's an easy thing to go out and play with confidence, because we all believe in each other and ourselves.
And when it comes down to it, it's about pitching. Look at that smile.
Always is.
Thanks, BG. Appreciate it. There you go. These pitchers. I was a former hitter, man. It's about hitting, Dwayne. It's about hitting.
Yeah, and it's been tough to hit that good pitching. That's the challenge of this game, as they say. Hitting may be the toughest thing in sport to do, particularly when it's against tough pitching. And here in the bottom of the 6th, Barnes, who has a good arm, has gone to that curveball exclusively to Casale to strike him out. Started Jaso with the curveball for a strike. And now there's a fastball up and out of the zone. So Barnes, who is consistently 94, maybe 95. He got Forsythe looking on a breaking ball and then attacked Casale with the curve to show what he has out there. Now he's 2-1 with Jaso. And then right back with it for a strike. 2-2. And he goes upstairs with a fastball at 95. So the Rays get the leadoff double, leave a man on, and trail by 2.
Top of the 7th, 7-5, and it's become a slugfest now. And speaking of slugging, good to have you back, John Jaso. You were a Ray and then left for a while and kind of grew up a little bit in the Mariners and Oakland, and now you're back, and you have this feeling now more as a leader, having talked to you now and saw you in January and February and March. Give me your makeup and how you feel about the team and your position on this team.
Well, I mean, first of all, I definitely feel blessed getting the opportunity to come back here and play after, what I went through last year and the year before with the concussion thing. Been working with Rocco in the outfield quite a bit and shagging a lot of balls out there just in case they get thrown out there sometime during the game. But, team's looking good. Pitchers, waiting for Cobb to get back too. And that's going to be awesome to kind of solidify the starting staff. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be a fun season. Cash is running a good ship here.
And you came from an Oakland team that was pretty dynamic, had a little bit of everything, a little bit of speed, a little bit of power. I mean, do you see some similarities as to the young guns that Oakland had the last few years that ended up giving away, but nevertheless, this team seems to be building?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always good to see players who come up through the farm system and work hard down there and then make it to this level with the parent club. That shows, when it came to draft time, they knew what they were doing and they were looking for a future big league player on their squad. And so that's always good. And I think teams like this, like with Oakland, definitely fitting a puzzle together, getting this guy here to fit this piece, getting a guy here to fit this piece, and it's not so much like big payroll, stack up a bunch of big hitters and big money in there. So it's more of a finesse thing when it comes to teams like this.
For me and actually for you're coming in more as an offensive guy and get a bunch of at-bats and even add to the home runs and RBIs that I think you're very capable of doing. Not going to be really asked to be catching, mainly because of the concussion situation. But yet you're still a catcher, and you still can add another nuance to the pitching staff, to Jim Hickey. Are you excited about helping out Rivera and Casali, whomever is back there, and maybe in trying to give your expertise of the American League?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been around them too much so far in spring training as far as that goes, but during the season, I love that part of the game. I love calling the game. I like keeping track of hitters, how they are during certain series. I mean, a guy could be hitting an outside pitch one series, and then all of a sudden you face him a month down the road and he's turning on inside stuff. So staying in tune with the game and what's going on, I love that part of the game, and I love to help. I mean, if I could,
You're going to be doing a little bit of everything out there, bro. And it looks like it has a fun team out there, and you guys are going to have a good year, man. Good luck, JJ. It's good to see you back here.
All right, thank you.
There you go, John Jaso, back more as an offensive threat, Dwayne, but one that could be very formidable for this team.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and he is happy, as you could tell in that exchange, happy to be back in Ray's colors. He is tickled to be back here.
I think he is, and also, in talking to him before, is that, he's accepting this kind of, not dramatic leadership role that he's kind of been, asked upon or just kind of feels like he should take it on. It's a whole different John Jaso that left. Not so much between the lines, I think, Dwayne, but just that aura about him because he was a younger player and just kind of feeling out those first 3 years here. Now he comes back and he knows he has to take over the mantle for a guy, let's say, like Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, well, and he's gone through some traumatic experiences with a couple concussion issues. He's battled through that. It's not an easy thing to get through, as he will tell you. And so he's back, happy to be playing and healthy again, and happy to be in a good set of circumstances. And, even before he left, when he was here, he's, as you pointed out earlier, he's not obviously a speed guy, but he was always a good guy at the top of the order.
Yeah.
Good on-base percentage
high on-base
guy.
percentage.
Yep.
Well, we saw it today with a knuckleballer who, he milked for a couple of walks and back-to-back at-bats. So, he knows what he's doing up at the plate there. And a lot of the younger guys like a Souza, a Franklin, that's going to rub off in him being able to explain the process and the education or educating a proper at-bat and walking through it. What I love about him, he reminds me of these at-bats that we used to see in yesteryear and still do from a Pedroia or a Big Papi or back in the day from a Jeter and a Bernie Williams. These longer at-bats that milk you and sometimes walk or punch that base hit. So those are very, very key at-bats and something to teach.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I was going to say that. You learn so much by watching as opposed to sometimes someone lecturing you or telling you how. You're just watching. Watch how a guy works in at bat, and I think you're absolutely right. It's good for young hitters to have a guy like Jaso who can do that. And it does, interestingly enough, turn out to be a little contagious at times. And that's the kind of, I don't know if contagion is the right word or not, but that's what you like. If something's going to be contagious, let it be something good like that.
Yeah, that's a good contagious thing to pass on, isn't it?
Yep.
But, good at bats, quality at bats. And again, it goes back to some of the new guys that they're coming into the fold here. I think of two young guys that are brand new per se. I mean, Nick Franklin got called up, and we saw, some of him last year, but not for too long. But more of a Franklin and a Souza Jr. compared to a Cabrera and a Jaso. All new, basically, to this big league team. But, two guys that can help the other two guys. Yep. And by them mirroring him and what I've talked to Franklin and Souza, more so today, being around them, they seem to be kids that get the respect, honoring the respect of paying attention and being respectful and being humble, basically, Dwayne.
Yeah, you're right. Here's an interesting guy at the plate, Luke Mons. He's spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. He's been a power hitter down there. In fact, his baseball career stretches back to when the Montreal Expos were in existence. He was drafted originally by the Expos out of the 2003 June draft. He's out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's a catcher by trade. Takes a big cut right there. And he's had over 3,200 at-bats in the minor leagues with 153 home runs and a total of 49 major league at-bats.
Wow. That's some Skeeter Barnes numbers there going on. One of our roving outfield instructors.
Strike three call. Beliveau, after walking Holt, comes back to get the strikeout on Mons. M-O-N-T-Z. He was hitting for David Ortiz. It is Hanley Ramirez. 4 innings for Carnes today, a little over 70 pitches. Brandon Gomes got 2 innings of work in. And now Jeff Beliveau. Ramirez with a couple runs batted in. Rolls it foul, strike one. That's Beliveau. He did a nice job. Boy, he was up and down. It seemed that he would get called up for a day or two, never get into a game, and you kept wondering, is this guy going to get in any games or not? And when he did, you can see what he turned in. Walked 7 in 24 innings with 28 strikeouts with a 2.63 ERA. He pitched very well out of the Rays bullpen. One of those left-handers looking for an opportunity and trying to make the most of it. He did a nice job for the Rays out of the bullpen last year. And he faces Hanley Ramirez. You know, he's starting to get that Manny Ramirez look right now in that Boston uniform. He's playing left field. Ground ball short. Beckham to Elmore, 1, and over to first for 2. 6-4, 3 and out. We're in the middle of the 7th inning here, and it's 7-5 Boston lead. Boston leading. We head into the Rays half of the 7th inning. Directly following today's action, stay tuned for live MLS coverage between Orlando City Soccer and the Montreal Impact. Catch the game right here on Fox Sports Florida and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Brandon Workman will take over on the mound. Becomes the 3rd pitcher for Boston. 3 2/3 for Wright, and then Barnes came on for 2 1/3 and picked up 4 strikeouts. Gave up 1 hit and no runs, and now Workman is in there. Workman, 15 starts, 4 appearances out of the bullpen last year. He's 1-10 with the Red Sox after going 7-1 in the minor leagues. And Steven Souza Jr. will lead off here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Matt Spring takes over behind the plate, so a new battery here. Workman on the mound and Spring behind the plate here in the 7th inning. Souza pops it up right side. That's headed for the stands. The wind has consistently been out of the left field corner. The Rays now get Steve Geltz up in their bullpen. They've had Carnes, Gomes, and Beliveau so far. One and one. Souza behind, a ball, 2 strikes. Hot shot foul back a third. Well, the Rays scored 5 times with 2 outs in the 4th, and now they're trying to get something going against the right-hander Brandon Workman. Two and two now. Other changes defensively for the Red Sox, and we'll get to those in a moment. Good cut, the miss. Souza Jr. is out on strikes for the first time in this game, and that will be the 8th strikeout. Let's take a look at that and see. Souza thought that maybe he should still have that at bat going. You know, if he made contact with that, then he should have an at bat that would continue. And it appeared that the umpire indicated that that he did make contact with him. And if he did, that was not caught in any way. So maybe he's just ruling that he did not foul that ball into the mid. You don't have to catch it cleanly in the mid, but you do have to catch it, which he did not do. So that's going to go as a strikeout. With the first out in the 7th. And now this is Tim Beckham. And that's a strike. So he's still confused. Whatever explanation they gave him, it appeared to be conflicting than his call that he made demonstrably, which appeared to be like a foul tip call. Well, okay, good. But the catcher's got to somehow catch it. Beckham fouls it out of play. So one away here in the 7th. Alexi Casilla is on deck. It's a 1-ball, 2-strike count. And that gets Beckham looking. Back-to-back strikeouts for Workman. The other changes for Boston, a couple outfield changes. Quentin Berry's in the game in left, and Jackie Bradley Jr. is in right field. Jeff Bianchi's in third. Evan Marrero in at shortstop, with Spring, as we mentioned, catching Workman now. Casilla fouls it back for a strike. Oh, 2. Let's see. Geltz continues to throw in the Rays bullpen, and Taylor Grover, right-hander, throwing in the Boston bullpen. I think that takes care of most of the laundry list of basically some little housekeeping duties, trying to keep track of a full house here of changes and personnel. You see a little bit of that one foul. Rays have collected 6 hits. 5 of those came in the 4th. Just a little bit of that one. Should Casilla reach, Juan Francisco would be next. He's on deck, occupying the spot originally containing James Loney. This one too high. 2-2. Workman trying to come in there with a curveball. Looper into shallow center, and that ball will fall just short of Castillo's glove. And Castilla has a base hit. A 2-out base hit, and here is Juan Francisco on his way to the plate.
Hey, Dwayne.
Francisco with the strike. Yes, sir.
You know, big power from this guy, especially, you know, against right-handers, obviously, is just dramatically better against lefties. And it is Saturday, and his name is Juan Francisco. So if he has a big home run to tie the game here, it'd be possibly almost like Don Francisco and Sábado Gigante. Stay with me now.
Okay, I'll stay right there with you.
See, that was geared to our very large demographic of Hispanic people.
Yep.
Hello, which Don Francisco is an incredibly famous host of Sábado Gigante for over 50 years. And Tom Foley is looking at me as I'm saying this in the dugout and going, really? You just went Don Francisco on me.
Yeah, I see him walking away.
Yeah, I just see him walking away with a glass of water. He's going, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, this guy does have massive power from the right side. I mean, against the right-handed pitchers from the left side. And he's a guy that's, an interesting pickup as an invitee, and kind of keep around, and somebody gets injured, if something happens to Loney, you never know. It's mad power.
3-1. He was most recently with the Blue Jays, and we saw some of that power in a Blue Jay uniform. He's a big man.
Well, they went out and got two guys that are very similar, in Alan Dykstra and Juan Francisco, and invited them to camp and keeping them around. Oof.
Big cut there, and it's fouled back. 3-2. Rays have Casilla at first with a 2-out single. They got behind 6-0 and made it 6-5. It's now 7-5. And a big cut and a miss. So a 3-strikeout inning for Brandon Workman. We go to the 8th. 7-5 Boston.
Game with knuckleballers, and that was a dizzy at bat right there. And the guy doing a pretty good job right there. And a guy that tries to square it up and not get too dizzy with me here in the top half of the 8th. Boston winning 7-5 is Steven Souza Jr. It's good to have you here, Steven. When I heard you got traded from Washington, I watched a lot of your film, saw your stroke. And as a former hitter, I like what you do up there as far as trying to keep it simple and trying to keep it up the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to
be a key to my success is not trying to get out of myself and trying to launch balls too far. Just trying to be a hitter up there, keep everything simple. I think the simpler you keep it, the more consistent you can be.
You played in the International League and was Rookie of the Year and MVP, and it's a league that I remember very well. Not the Pacific Coast League. That's a pitcher's league. So to hit 350 and to hit the home runs and RBIs, it's a pretty competitive league. Now it's not the major leagues, but your mindset now going into this season and looking at getting the opportunity to hopefully play every day. Does it change now, or you just try to just take care of yourself, your mind, and just do what you can do?
No, I think I have to stay with that plan. I think there's going to be outside sources that'll distract you as far as what's going on around you and crowds and where you're at. But if I can stay focused on the year on what I need to do and simplify everything, I think the year's going to play out itself. But I don't want to make things too complicated. I'm going to let my plan roll for a while, and until it gets beat, then we'll see what happens.
I'm feeling a pretty good karma in this team here as far as personalities, and but with personalities you got to have production, though. You know what I mean? So you got to win. But it seems like right now, led by Kevin Cash and some of the veterans that already were established here, and the new coaches and new blood, is a good feeling here. Not a lot of people giving you guys a lot of chance to make a splash. How do you feel about the pulse of this team and what's going on?
It's terrific. I think that it's undervalued. Yeah, you look at our lineup and we don't have 4 guys making $100 million, and we don't have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 guys that are going to hit 30 homers, but we're pretty athletic. We can do a lot of different things, and I think when you get good chemistry in the clubhouse, which is undervalued, and some athletic guys on the field, then you're going to produce some runs. Now we got to go up there and take care of business, and that's a different story. But at this point, I think it's going to look good for taking some athletes onto the field and getting it done.
As big as you are, is 6'4", about 220, 225. I'm sure a lot of people always feel about, big hit home runs, hit the big fly, 500-foot home runs. It seems like your game is trying to be to hit line drives and let the home runs come when they may. Is that what your approach is right now?
Totally. And when I get in trouble, when you see me get in trouble, is I'm trying to hit those homers. I'll get big and get out of my game plan. But I watched an interview. I've talked to guys like Joey Votto, who said home runs aren't hit, they're thrown. They're mistakes that you take the right path and that they leave the ballpark. But now you're not trying to do that, and so I'm going to stick with my game plan that's up the middle. I've got some speed, so if I miss it on the ground, I can get there, and if I hit in the air, hopefully it leaves, and we'll stick with that.
Anybody so far in the spring that you kind of like trying to emulate a little bit in reference to picking up some tips and picking up some veteran looks, or maybe even going ahead and asking for advice? As you've been talking to anybody or trying to pay key attention to anybody?
As far as from Tampa Bay or
from your own team here and in this clubhouse?
No, I think I just try to get to know everyone. No one specific. I think David DeJesus and I have really clicked together, but other than that, I'm just trying to get to know everyone.
Well, good luck to you this season, brother. And we'll be seeing a lot of Steven Souza Jr. We'll be right back with the bottom of the 8th, 7-5, Boston leading.
The Rays are down by 2 and move into the bottom of the 8th inning. Tonight on Fox Sports Live, they've got all the news from around the world of sports, including highlights of a full day in the MLB, NBA, and NHL. Fox Sports Live tonight on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Dana Evelyn, the lefty, becomes the 4th pitcher. He follows Wright, Barnes, and Workman. Workman pitched 1 inning, gave up 1 hit and 3 strikeouts. Left-hander with the Mets a year ago in 30 games, 1-1 with a .263. And Corey Brown, who's now in center field, he entered the game originally in left and has moved over to play center. And he will open the 8th inning for the Rays. Joey Butler will follow him. So lefty against lefty, and the pitch is inside. A ball and no strikes. Skied into short right toward the line. Weeks angles out from second base and makes the catch. And Brown is the first out in the 8th. Right down the right field line. Nuri Tavares is playing right field now for the Red Sox, with Bradley Jr. moving over to play center. Jansen White is the new first baseman. Here's Butler. One strike the count. Fastball by him. 0-2. Evelyn, not an overpowering sort. He'll change speeds. Slider and a change off the fastball. And there's the slider that started wide, stayed out there. Two and two. Rays left a couple of men on in the first. They left 2 on in the 4th when they scored 5. Left a man at second in the 6th inning and a man on in the 7th. Nobody on here in the 8th inning yet. And that will be strike 3 called. Nice little slider. Gets Butler looking. It's 11 strikeouts for Boston pitching today. And now Jake Elmore, who's now playing second base, gets his first plate appearance of the day. One ball, no strikes. Two and 0. A 3-ball, no strike count. Three and 1. Rays have more action in the bullpen. Lefty C.J. Riefenhauser is now loosening. And Elmore draws a walk. So the Rays get a base runner with 2 outs. Here's Mayo Acosta. He is shared the catching duties. Kurt Casale today. And back in at first is Elmore. Well, Carnes started for the Rays. Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer for the Red Sox. And the fastball is a strike to start the count against Acosta. One and one. That's a foul ball scooped down there. And the count advances to 1-2. Elmore back in. Pitch high, 2-2. Shot foul. Elmore took off on that 2-2 pitch. That takes care of Acosta out on strikes. Couple strikeouts for Evelyn. And we're headed into the 9th inning of this one. 7-5 Boston. Charlotte County, where the Rays and the Red Sox now move into the 9th inning in this 2-run ball game. Well, a big day for all three of the Rays starters announced to this point. Nathan Karns pitched in this game, 4 innings, 72 pitches. Jake Odorizzi pitched in the Double-A game here in the complex, 7 innings and 100 pitches from 3-hit baseball. And Chris Archer in the Triple-A game, 105 pitches in 6 2/3. Rene Rivera went over to that Triple-A game to catch Chris Archer as they continue to become more and more accustomed to each other's idiosyncrasies of working together. And C.J. Riefenhauser becomes pitcher number 5 for the Rays in this game. Devin Marrero will lead off the 9th inning. He's now the shortstop for Boston. And there's a first pitch strike by Riefenhauser. Jim Hickey alongside Rays skipper Kevin Cash as they try to work their way around the injuries to this pitching staff. Quality innings out of starting pitching. The name of this game. There's a base hit. Butler with a pickup in left, and Marrero is aboard. Jamal Weeks. Weeks will be the hitter. Opening day, the countdown is on. Starting today, 9 days away from the opener against Baltimore. Line drive, and it's going to be caught there by Beckham. Beckham started to his left, and that ball had some hooking action. Hit very hard by Weeks, and Beckham made the adjustment right at the last moment to make the catch. I mean, that ball was hit hard and started to hook on Beckham, but he made the catch for the first out. Jeff Bianchi up here. He's now at third base. Pitch is high to Bianchi. One and one. Bianchi out in front of that pitch. Runner takes off, ball hit down the line and just fair past the diving Casilla, kicking out to Butler. Marrero heads to the plate. He's going to score. It's a double for Bianchi. That ball just fair. And now it's a 3-run deficit for the Rays, 8-5. That one just down the third base side and just fair. So it's 9 hits now for Boston and 8 runs. Here's Quentin Berry stepping in. Berry fouls this one back. Edwin Escobar up in the bullpen now for Boston. See some hard stuff from him. One and one. So the leadoff single has been converted into a run. And the soft strike, 1-2. Two balls, two strikes. Two up the right side, and that's going to be a fair ball dropping in there. Paez with the pickup. Run will score, and it's a double, back-to-back doubles by Bianchi and Berry. And the Red Sox tack on a couple runs. So 3 hits and 2 runs here with 1 out in the 9th. And we're going to see Luke Mounts again. David Ortiz made this trip and was the DH to begin this game. Went 1 for 3, drove in a base hit, drove in a run with a base hit in the first. And now Luke Mounts, who struck out looking in the 7th, gets another at bat here in the 9th. It's a ball and no strikes. Cut the miss right there. The catcher, Matt Spring, is on deck. Two and one. Two balls, two strikes. Sharply hit foul. A 2-2 count on Mounts. Bianchi and Berry have driven in the runs in this inning. Suddenly it's a 4-run deficit. Down to third. Casilla will take it to first. Mounts is out of there holding at second. Berry, he'll be there with 2 outs, and the catcher Matt Spring will get a chance to swing the bat. Spring spent a long time in the Rays system. 11 years in the minor league spring and over 2,200 minor league at bats. We'll be with you again on Saturday when the Rays host the Tigers. That'll be at Tropicana Field. So we'll get a look at the Detroit Ball Club a couple of days before the Rays and the Orioles open the regular season at Tropicana Field on Monday. Monday's first pitch set for 3:10. Our pregame coverage begins at 1:30 on Monday for opening day. And then again on Saturday we will have the final spring telecast, and that against the Tigers from the Trop. And a cut the miss. Spraying out on strikes to retire the side. Bottom of the ninth coming in a 9-5 game. Today's action, stay tuned for live MLS coverage between Orlando City Soccer and the Montreal Impact. Catch the game right here on Fox Sports Florida and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. This was a 2-0 Boston lead, a 5-0 Boston lead, a 6-0 Boston lead. The Rays made it 6-5. Boston with a run in the 7th and 2 in the 9th, and we go to the bottom of the 9th, 9-5. And the Rays will be facing Edwin Escobar. His minor league numbers last year, 3-10 with a .494 earned run mark. His fastball in the neighborhood of 93, 94 most of the time. Foley making a note of Escobar in this game. We should see a curve and a changeup perhaps from Escobar as well. Joy Ricard up here. It's in the spot originally occupied by Jaso. 1 ball, no strikes. 1-1. So Escobar is the 5th pitcher of the day. Rays have utilized 5 pitchers as well. Jose Paez is on deck. He's a young outfielder out of Venezuela. Starting to see some of the truly youngsters in the system. They're in the 9th inning of this 4-run game. And this one dropped into center field, a line base hit. Rays put the leadoff hitter aboard in the 9th. It'll be the 8th hit of the day for the Rays. Fastball returned to center field. Escobar out of Venezuela. They got him from San Francisco, and here is Paez, who's also from Venezuela. He fouls it back, strike one. Paez hitting .264 last year in the Rays minor leagues. He'll be 22 years old in August. And Escobar will be 23 in April. Paez out on strikes. Well, we saw the breaking ball there. It's 13 strikeouts for Boston pitching today. And here's Tim Beckham. It's low. Cabrera started it short. Beckham took over in the 6th inning. Called out on strikes his last time up. And ahead in the count this time, 2-0. It's a 3-ball, no strike count now. And ball 4, and the Rays get their second base runner. 2 men on with 1 out. Alexi Casilla, who's hitting in the cleanup spot. Well, you never know that Juan Francisco is on deck with big-time power, so you get another base runner, and you've got a shot. Rays and the Red Sox, they'll be meeting a couple more times before the spring is over. And there's a ball. 1-0. In fact, the Rays will be on the road tomorrow and play the Red Sox. Fastball misses this time. So Escobar, who took care of Paez on 3 pitches, has otherwise had a little difficulty finding the zone. He walked Beckham on 4 pitches, and he's behind Casilla 3-0. And ball 4. And the bases are loaded. The Rays get them loaded with 1 out, and they will get some pop up here in Francisco. So a single and 2 walks. They're loaded. The Rays have a couple left-handed bats due up in Francisco and Brown. And the Red Sox talk it over on the mound. Game tomorrow against the Red Sox. The Rays are going to go with the bullpen again. They did that yesterday. Actually, the day before yesterday's game against the Orioles, they started and then it was eventually rained out. But tomorrow, Jordan Alberto is going to pitch, and Grant Balfour will get some work. Ernesto Frieri, Brad Boxberger, and Kirby Yates. And here's Francisco. He tried to stop. And apparently he did hold up. 1-0. Been covered up by the catcher Matt Spring. Escobar having some difficulty out there. Red Sox do get some action in their bullpen. Kyle Martin, a right-hander, has started to throw. Another miss. Well, after getting Paez on 3 straight pitches to strike him out, then Escobar walked Beckham on 4 pitches. He walked Casilla on 4 and is behind Francisco 3-0. And that inside for ball 4 will force home a run. So he's thrown 12 consecutive pitches out of the zone. And the Rays get a run to make it 9-6. This is loaded on walks. And the hitter's going to be Corey Brown. Brown has an at-bat in this game. Popped out down the right field line, and he takes a strike. So Escobar, after 12 straight pitches out of the zone, gets a strike and a breaking ball. And a cut and a miss. So the breaking ball has gotten him ahead 0-2. Bases full of Rays. Brown lays off this breaking ball low. 1-2. Alex Sold is pinch running for Francisco at first. And that's going to be a strike called on the outside corner. He found the corner with a fastball for out number 2. There's a look. Got that borderline call that time. And here is Joey Butler. Butler caught looking in the 8th. Bats against the lefty. Fastball in the dirt, blocked by Spring. So it has been a wild 9th inning here for Edwin Escobar. And ball 2. This with a breaking pitch. The miss. Got that fastball, and Butler was thinking about trying to end it right there. Bases loaded. The Rays down by 3. 2 outs. 2-1 the count. And now it's 3 balls and a strike. Beckham at third. Casilla at second. Soul running at first. That will wind up out of play and run the count full. Well, here you go. Bases loaded with 2 outs and a full count on Butler. So that means the runners will be off with the pitch. And an extra base hit. Has a chance to score. Soul, the pinch runner at first. Ground ball to short. Guerrero's going to make the throw to first. Butler's out, and so are the Rays in the 9th. This game is over. It's a 9-6 final. The Red Sox take it. And the Rays now go to 11-10 on the year. Boston 12-10 for this spring. Time of the game 3 hours and 4 minutes before 7,030, a sellout crowd here in Charlotte. For Arestas Estrada and Dwayne Stats, great to have you with us. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast. This has been a special presentation by Fox Sun Sports. Tune in next Saturday for the Rays and their final preseason action against the Detroit Tigers. Live coverage available on Sun Sports beginning at 12:30. Coming up next, MLS coverage between the Orlando City Soccer and the Montreal Impact right here on Fox Sports Florida.